What's going on, everybody? Christian Ballard, sports journalist here at Ballard Sports Media. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Love and appreciate all the love and support this past college football season. I know we didn't do a whole lot, but we did what we could have. I get so busy, caught up in school and work, but you find a little bit of time for stuff like this, especially during the off season. Um, Today we'll be looking at Alabama for 2026. Want to start cracking down on some teams and previews. I'm going to start with Alabama. Let me know in the comments how I should do the team previews this year. Should we do them by conference? Should we do them at random? Should we start polls? How should we do it based on, well, let me say that if we get more comments about doing it by conference, we'll do it by conference. And obviously, starting here with Alabama, we'll start with the SEC. Um, or if we just get a bunch of comments for one particular team, then I'll do that. I don't know. I'm gonna work at it, and we'll see what we can do to get every Power Four team schedule preview out in 2026. This, of course, being Alabama today, and we're going to look at the Crimson Tide. We'll look at what they did last year. We'll look at how it went down. Not so much. I think everyone knows how it went down. Obviously, Ty Simpson's off to the NFL, so you bring in a new quarterback, either Keelan Russell or Austin Mack this year. You look at 2025. I'm not going to put the previous schedule up, but kind of got it here in front of me. 11-4 overall, 8-2 in the SEC play. One loss in the SEC being the conference title game to Georgia. Of course, the opening loss of the season, by the way, was to Florida State. They also play Florida State this year. It's a home and home, so that means they play them twice. They beat Georgia the first time around. They beat teams like Vanderbilt. They went on this really good run up until November 15th of beating up on SEC teams, and then Oklahoma comes to town on homecoming and beats them by 2, 23-21. They played a close one at Auburn. Not as much of a thriller as it usually is, but it still came down to the wire with defense coming through late in the game. And then, of course, a big blowout to Georgia. You win by 10 in the first round of the CFP going to Norman, 34-24. You get a playoff win. And then you lose to Indiana, who doesn't lose to Indiana this past season. So, I mean, but 38-3. So, in one way, it started out kind of rough. You didn't look your best necessarily each week, and you had the loss to Florida State. Ty Simpson, a lot of people wanted him benched throughout the season. And then he had good games like the first Georgia game and said, okay, maybe he is our guy. Um, and we stuck with him all year long. And I credit DeBoer for that. But, he's gone now. And now you bring in Austin Mack or Keelan Russell within the quarterback room. And it's, how do I want to put this? It's like now, are you happy that you get new experience at quarterback, or are you nervous because it's inexperience? Um, I think that's a big question to ask. So overall, I guess it was a good season. I know Alabama fans like to measure it based on a championship, and I get that with Bear, with Stallings, with Saban. But look, going forward with this program, not every coach can be compared to those guys. I understand, and um, like I feel the same way. I don't get it twisted. I feel the same way. But at the same time, um, it is what it is. So let's go ahead and pull up the 2026 schedule. Notable returning performers, at least that we know of. I mean, Ryan Williams will be a junior wide receiver, so he's back. Started out as a 17-year-old freshman. You'll have a new quarterback. It's either going to be Russell or Mack, unless they can pick up somebody in the portal. We'll see. But overall, I think there's going to be a lot. There's going to be some holes to fill. Um, they'll host 7 games inside Bryant Denny this year. 4 of them will be SEC games. One of them being the Iron Bowl. They have to go to Tennessee, all that stuff. So we'll we'll talk about these games. They host South Carolina, stuff like that. But um, yeah, I just I don't know. I don't really have much notes. This is more so based on schedule preview, if anything. But they should have a lot returning. They should have a lot of leadership. They should have depth. I think they're always going to have depth. I think that when you just see that logo, you think greatness, no matter who the coach is. And guys are going to want to go play. I mean, there's not going to be a year, at least I hope, where you look at Alabama and recruiting or portal and say they got nothing. Like there's gonna be some standout guys. Guys have left over the years, like Justice Haynes, who I think is now at Georgia Tech through Michigan. Um, you've had quarterbacks. Speaking of quarterbacks, I know we kind of talked and hit on that. You also bring in a good four star. Some view him almost as a 5 star in Jet Tamala, who was previously committed and almost signed with Iowa State, but he flipped on signing day back in December. So there's that. I mean, just to kind of look at, some of their recruiting there, I think, they bring a lot in. And, Alabama currently going into the second signing day ranks number 3 in 247's rankings with 5 star commits, 25 overall. You got a Xavier Griffin. Is he going to play? Jordan Edmonds is a corner. There's a 5 star running back in Xavier Crowell. I could keep going. Sedarian Morgan. People want to see him. Can he be that guy to step up, in the slot alongside Ryan Williams? We'll see. Now we get into the schedule. They open at East Carolina, or home against East Carolina, I should say. Um, who was it on our schedule? Oh, West Virginia. We had West Virginia, I think it was. And then both teams mutually agreed to cancel and possibly reschedule, but they don't know yet. East Carolina to replace them. Let's be honest, that should be no problem. Then you go on the road at Kentucky. I would say that's no problem considering how Kentucky's fared the last couple seasons. It just hasn't really gone their way. Couple rough years for Mark Stoops there, but we'll see what Kentucky looks like. We'll preview them at some other point. But I think I feel like Alabama on one hand should go on the road to Lexington and win no problem. But on the other hand, it's like, new quarterback, young receivers and just young defense in ways too. Like, okay, we'll see. But that could be a tricky, like week 2 trap game if you overlook it, because the next week you host Florida State. Now that's going to be a revenge game from last year. Florida State did not end up having the season everybody thought they would. Now they went better than what they did in 24, which was 2-10, but they were nowhere near the greatness of 2023 with Mike Norvell. But they did get a win over Alabama at Doak Campbell last year, and they go to Bryant Denny on September 19th. Then comes in South Carolina, and then bet you didn't know this, the Battle of Highway 82 is what they call this game at Mississippi State is on October 3rd. And this game has not been played since, I don't think since COVID, right? Or 2021, something like that. It's been a couple years since we've played Mississippi State. We didn't get the Mississippi schools the last couple seasons, so it's been a little bit. Um, Then you get Georgia at home, which I don't think that's going to be annual, but obviously with the permanent opponents, it's not going to be Georgia every single year. The permanent opponents are Tennessee, Mississippi State, and Auburn for Alabama. They gave them Mississippi State as like it and over LSU basically, which I thought was kind of crazy, but at the same time, there's a little bit more history between State and the Crimson Tide. So Georgia at Tennessee, Texas A&M at home, get a bye week, perfect timing on Halloween there. At LSU, back-to-back road games here, going to Vanderbilt. Don't forget the last time that happened 2 years ago with Pavia at quarterback for the Commodores. We'll see what they look like. I think with that, what's his name, Jared Curtis, who was committed to Georgia and then flipped. Chattanooga should be no problem, and then Auburn usually at home is no problem, but at the same time, there have been some scares at times, usually at Jordan Hare, but you never take that rivalry game with Auburn in the Iron Bowl lightly. This will be the 91st edition in history, um, and the millionth time in a row they've played. So, I mean, I don't remember the last time they didn't play when you look at it. I think you got to go back to the 1940s, something like that. Anyway, so that's their schedule. Overall, when you look at it, what's my record prediction? I'm going to try to do what I did last year and give you the at most record predictions. I'm going to say 10-2, and it's tough to come up with which two games are going to be the losses. But I feel like because Ty Simpson's leaving, because you got a receiver or two out as well, I feel like there's going to be a little bit of rebuild. I feel like you'll kind of see similarity to last year. I think if you go less than 10-2, obviously there's no playoffs. But I mean, are you looking at 8-4, 9-3 like you had a couple years ago? And then if you can do better, do it by all means. Um, win every game. You want that as an Alabama fan. You want that for every team. You wish that nobody could lose, unless you really have hatred for a team. Tennessee, nah, no hate for Tennessee. Rest in peace, BBD. Love you, buddy. Did not mean to click on East Carolina there, um, but yeah, I mean, if I had to pick the two losses, honestly, for me, I feel like they get revenge on. I think they avenge the SEC title loss to Georgia. They'll get South Carolina at home. They'll get Florida State. I'm thinking it's around like the Vandy game, which I know it. Like, look, 5, 10 years ago, if you said they're losing to Vandy, you're crazy. Vandy and Clark Lee are cooking something up right now, and they've already beaten Alabama, right? They beat them 2 years ago. It's coming off an LSU road game, right? Lane Kiffin's at LSU. That could be your two losses. Could they go back to back? That's possible. Texas A&M at home could be tough. Auburn at home could be tough, depending on what Alex Golish brings to the table. We'll see how he fares in the SEC. He comes over from USF. But y'all let me know what losses you think. If Alabama goes 10-2, who are the two losses? Then let me know what your overall record prediction is for the Alabama Crimson Tide. I got them 10-2. I don't I think going forward, I used to always like pick specific losses because I felt like I had to defend myself, but I think you're good if you just come up with a record prediction and just say they float around that somewhere. Um, I don't have a definitive answer for 10-2 other than they're probably a 10-win team. Who are the losses? I'm getting a feeling about Vanderbilt late in the season, and maybe it's Georgia at home, maybe it's Texas A&M, maybe it's Tennessee, somewhere in October, right? Um, is a trap game Mississippi State? We'll see. But overall, I think that Alabama is in a good position to make the playoffs next season in 2026, this season, technically, now that 2025 is in the books. But again, I put this up 10-2. That's my prediction for Alabama in 2026. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I love y'all. We're going to get out of here. Jesus loves you. Keep your head up. God bless. Roll Tide from an Alabama fan. Keep that in mind. I'm an Alabama guy. No bias, no hatred for anybody. And definitely in the comment section, let me know how we should do the team preview. Should we go by conference or just straight up let me know what team I should preview next? We'll cross it off the list. I got a whole list printed out of every Power 14. So the goal is getting them all in every single conference, plus Notre Dame. Roll my eyes there because, I mean, I don't hate Notre Dame. I just join a conference, do something, play an extra game. I don't know. Anyway, love you guys. God bless. Roll Tide, and we'll see you next time here at BSM.